Let's go to this chat now. The Southern African Development Community has decided to end its military deployment in the eastern DRC. The 16-nation bloc deployed its mission in the DRC in December 2023 to help fight an insurgency by the M23 rebels. 18 peacekeepers, including 14 South African soldiers, died in January as the group advanced on Goma. Malawi earlier announced that it was withdrawing from the mission. SADC leaders say that the withdrawal will take place in phases while reiterating the need for a political and diplomatic solution in the mineral-rich area. For more on this, let's now speak to our Defence Deputy Minister, General Bantu Holomisa. General, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Is it clear what informed this decision for SADC to say, let's stop the deployment of the SAMI DRC?
Well, I guess the process has long been started by the SADC leaders in various summits. And also here at home, we must not forget that many members of parliament and the public have been asking when are our troops coming back. So I think in that sense, then, there has been a review of the situation, but more importantly is to guarantee that if those troops are going to be withdrawn in the areas where they were supposed to do work, who is going to replace them? But fortunately, the decision by the United Nations Security Council that the Rwandan Defense Force members as well as M23 must get out of DRC or in Goma area. If it is implemented, hopefully there will be a stability, but stability will have to be reinforced by the resumption of negotiations between the fighting people.
Yeah. Was it South Africa's position during the summit as well that the troops must be withdrawn?
No, the president has, South Africa has supported that. And I was privileged yesterday to be invited by my minister to attend virtually, though, the meeting of the leaders of SADC. And the president endorsed that need. And so I don't think there's anyone who would be opposed to that. But we must understand that it's not going to be an abrupt exercise. It might take a little bit longer because we have to account for our weapons. And also there has to be clarity as to what about those SANDF members who are under UN, MONUSCO? Are they going to be retained or left behind? But the SADC mission, as we all know, the leaders of SADC has taken a decision to the effect that they must withdraw their troops in the peace mission in DRC. That one is clear, but even that one, it might take some months because we have to do stocking of our weapons and make sure that our troops are safe as they leave. Right now, there are negotiations around the reopening of Goma Airport so that other needs can be brought into that area, especially for the people of Goma and surroundings, things like medication, food, and so on. So there is progress.
Yeah. How should South Africans look at this and understand this particular decision, considering that there was a mission, of course, that SADC has decided that the SAMI DRC will be set up, Malawi, Tanzania, as well as South Africa will contribute with troops and boots on the ground. And yet in this statement, even though there is this decision to withdraw, the statement says the summit noted with grave concern the continued deterioration of the security situation in the eastern DRC. So things haven't really become better. Is this a case of the SAMI DRC saying that we have been defeated? Unfortunately, there's nothing more that we can do.
I don't want to take it in that way because there is a United Nations Security Council resolution. The United Nations we're part of that. It might well be that before our troops come back, there will be a replacement by the rest of the world. Remember that the UN said Rwanda as well as M23 must get out of that area as soon as possible, or rather immediately. So this is a process which might lead to us handing over to UN peacekeeping mission without involving SADC. But if the United Nations, remember we're part of UN, if the UN feels that in future we must participate, then the South African government must make sure that the orders are clear. What role are we going to play? What kind of equipment must we have? We're not going to take a risk again.
So what would you say some of the lessons that should be learned out of this should be?
Well, I think some of the lessons. One, we must be careful that we help the DRC soldiers to make sure that there's peace in the area. But when your soldiers then suddenly surrenders, what is expected of you? In the next step, we will end up being a person who is fighting a battle which is not yours.
Yeah,
there are many things which we have learned. We will have to learn, and also to make sure that our troops are adequately protected in the air and on the ground.
All right. Finally, the communique does indicate that it's going to be a phased withdrawal. Is it clear at this point when the withdrawal starts? When can we expect the first contingent of SANDF soldiers as well as those from Malawi and Tanzania pulling out?
It's not yet clear. Remember that the Eastern DRC is de facto under the control of M23. So there has to be negotiations with M23 in that part of the world by UN and also SADC to make sure that any phase when our troops have to come back, whether next week or next year or whatever, they are safe. But I wonder what are they going to say, the M23, because there are orders from UN to say they must get out of that country. So it's a very tricky situation, and we have to handle it with care.